The first flight to take migrants arriving illegally in Britain to Rwanda can go ahead next week. The High Court in London ruled earlier today. Judge Jonathan Swift dismissed human rights groups' attempts to win an injunction to support it. Charities and a trade union had launched a challenge against the government's plan to send asylum seekers to the East African nation. They say that it was unsafe. The court has, however, granted human rights groups permission to appeal the decision.
In April, government struck a deal to send tens of thousands of asylum seekers to the East African nation in a bid to curb smuggling networks and stem the flow of migrants risking their lives by crossing the English Channel in small boats from Europe. Last week, the British government announced that the first deportation flight to Rwanda will leave on the 14th of June and issued some migrants with deportation notices. Lawyers representing migrants, along with charities and trade unions, have requested an injunction to stop the flight from going ahead. They say that government's position was based on false assurances about Rwanda's ability to offer protection to asylum seekers and process their claims.
Well, for more on this story, we're now joined by Kolbassia Haoussou, who's the Director of Survivor Empowerment at Freedom from Torture, a human rights charity which provides care for survivors of torture who seek protection in the United Kingdom. He's joining us via Zoom from London. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, and also thank you for having me.
So what's your take on the British government outsourcing its responsibilities, as some people have been suggesting?
I think, honestly, I think you did put it very well. You know, the British government outsourcing its responsibility to, the Refugee Convention and toward the refugees to a third, country. And, saying that, it's the other country that need to take the responsibility of giving protection to refugees, and especially people that fleeing war, torture, and persecution. And it is abhorring, it's really disappointing that Britain, the UK, which is also among the country which put forward, the convention, the Refugee Convention, and now just, running away from our responsibility to provide protection, to people that are fleeing persecution, war, and torture, and coming to our shore.
But a defense might be that Britain is in a partnership with Rwanda, and Britain is helping fund this. So they are taking up their responsibility to a degree, just at a different location.
Well, I think, there is not in the international law is that if you come in seeking protection somewhere, you have a right. I mean, basically, as a refugee myself, yeah. When I turn up to Britain, it's part of my right, part of the Refugee Convention, to seek protection to the UK, and also it's a part of the responsibility of the UK to assess my case and then grant me protection when it see that I need a protection. So it is not say that Britain need to shift the responsibility to another country. And also, I think just July last year, Britain accusing the Rwanda that in terms of torture that's happening in Rwanda, it's just July last year, Britain was accusing Rwanda for that. So I really don't understand why people that flee and traveling for miles and miles and end up in the UK need to be shifted, somewhere else for the case to be processed. And if we thinking that we're breaking down, the smuggler, we know now that in the past there's quite a lot of people that was sent to be resettled in Rwanda, but they end up not staying there. They end up leaving that. So what, in fact, we are doing, we're just creating more danger to people, because people are going to be, again, trying to find a way to get to another country. So we are not saving people, we're just creating more layer of risk for people.
So the way you're speaking, you're suggesting that it's a risk to go to Rwanda. They've, I think, by the end of 2021, had something like 127,000 refugees in the country already. So they have a history of taking people in and taking care of them. Why do you think it would be different this time?
I think there's few things that we need to consider. This plan. Part of the plan also, the government said that they will send everybody but apart from, Rwanda national to Rwanda. And if they feel that Rwanda is a safe place to send people seeking protection there, why they don't even send, Rwandan that come to the UK seeking protection from Rwanda? They should be also sent back there. Because if they don't do it this way, because they know there is no safe for sending Rwandan there. So if it's not safe for Rwandan national to be sent to Rwanda, why anybody else need to be sent to Rwanda? It's just unthinkable if that a plan is put in place and a plan for certain people is not for other people. So I absolutely do not agree with the plan, which is more selective, and which is also highlight that it's not safe for Rwandan and can be safe for other people.
All right, let's take Rwanda out of the equation and let's just talk about the principle of relocating immigrants. I guess the issue really is to find a safe place for them. Does it matter that it's in the country of arrival, or is it okay to find an alternative location that's equally safe?
I think the part that I do not agree with relocating is this. I think each country needs to take responsibility in giving protection to people when people, fleeing. If people reaching a safe country where they feel that that is a safe country, each country needs to do that. But in the long term, what we're trying to do is that those that have a little bit of money to pay other developing country to shift, people to there. What we end up going to be, then more people are going to be shifting their responsibility to other people. Yeah. So we're going to end up concentrating refugees to a certain corner of the world. And it's going to be burden to those, countries that are going to end up having more refugees, shift to there. Because I think we need to think about the long-term impact, not just a solution for today, but the long-term impact of that.
What's the fairest way to assign refugees? Because some people will travel through many countries and try and get to a country they perceive to be the best country to be. I want to go to England and I'll go through 10 countries to get to England, because you see England as the land of hope and economic whatever. So what's the fairest way? Is it to get to the nearest country that's safe, or how does it work? How should it work?
I think a very good question. I think how we need to look at it is this way. If we just look at statistics here in Europe, England is not the number one country that is really receiving quite refugees. Absolutely, England is not even, if I'm not wrong, not even between the top 4, top 5, or even top 10. So saying that quite a lot of people coming to England is not actually a fact. And the second point, I think people trying to end up in a certain country because they have a connection with that country. Most people, come in here, either, they have a language that is common, or, the country has impacted their country where, they're fleeing on. So, for example, if we take Afghanistan, the mess that is in Afghanistan, Britain is responsible of that, and they have a connection with that. And also people have relative and have connection into the country where they feel that, that's the country where they can have a better chance kind of to restart, their life. And quite a lot of people end up just look at even in Africa, there are quite a lot of people that end up in the neighboring countries, right? The people that cross very far is really minute compared to people that end up in a neighboring country where they live in a refugee camp or they live in those countries.
But I guess what can happen is that some countries become unfairly burdened with more refugees than the next countries. How do we help balance out the responsibility?
Yeah, thank you. I think balancing out the responsibility is really really important. And I'm sad really kind of to highlight this example. For example, the war in Ukraine is abhorrent war, and nobody won that. But the response of especially the Western in a relationship to that, for example, Britain stepping on, giving protection and giving opportunity for Ukrainian to come here and then be safe, is a good action. And those type of action need to be replicated with everybody, right? It's not just, you just don't pick a country you select and then those are going to support them and other people are not going to support them. The same problem when it happened to Afghanistan, the UK government accepted to support, Afghani to relocate in Britain. But what happened? Nothing absolutely happened. I think taking the responsibility on supporting people fleeing war and persecution is a responsibility of everybody, right? And we need, as a whole community, to come together to make sure that no one country receive more that can impact even, like the nationality. I mean, the citizen of those countries, that it became burden even for that country. So we have, the country like Britain and also the Western have enough resources, have enough power to support more relocating people that are feeling war and persecution.
All right. It seems as if the law has been tested. The High Court in London has decided that it is legal. So your position then, I guess, is that it's morally wrong what Britain is doing.
Absolutely, it's morally wrong. And also, I think, the injection, the fight is not finished. I think we still have Monday that we're going to push on. I think it's really important, as you just, highlighted, the impact, morally, what message are we sending?
All right.
What message are you sending? The country is built on, migrant refugees and important people that, come here and live the country the way that it is today. And it's wrong just to forsake our responsibility to protecting and supporting people that need protection.
There have been some whispers that there could be some racial profiling taking place here. Is that something that you're concerned about or observed or heard?
I think I'm really concerned about the plan, and I think in one of my interaction with the government, I did ask them who is going to be sent to Rwanda. Is it that plan going to be also impacting for example Ukrainian, for example? Or is it that something for other people, not the Ukrainian? Because if it's come down to only certain people that need to be shipped to Rwanda, then absolutely that is purely racist plan that is being put in place, and we're going to fight hard to push that.
All right, Mr. Haoussou, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much indeed for joining us and giving us some insights on this plan by Britain, which seems to have been given the green light by the courts. But as you say, you're going to continue to fight some more. Thanks for your time.
No, thank you for having me.
All right, that's Mr. Kolbassia Haoussou, who's the Director of Survivor Empowerment at the Freedom from Torture, a human rights charity which provides care for survivors of torture who seek protection in the United Kingdom. And he was speaking to us about this plan by Britain to send some of the refugees that landed in the UK. The UK's relocating them in a partnership with the Rwandan government. And not everybody's happy about that. Stay with us. You're watching The Globe.